Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to FRS Season 6. We are here in the league finale, PC Division 2, the last race to go off in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It has now hosted this FRS season finale in 4 of the 6 seasons, and here is the historic circuit itself. 4.3 kilometers around, 15 turns, and 2 DRS zones for your main overtaking opportunities. A tricky little midfield infield section really makes the setup compromise very, very interesting. It is the shortest lap on the Season 6 calendar by distance overall, and just a little bit slower in lap time than what we have in Austria. Of course, the action zones here, turn 1, 2, and 3, the Senna S at the end of the first pit straight DRS zone is your main overtaking opportunity, but it does lead immediately then on to the next DRS zone, and Descida del Lago, turn 4, your next best overtaking opportunity. A chance to fight back if you lose a position into turn 1, or set yourself up for that double move. The 3 tire compounds, the soft, medium, and hard as always. The medium about 0.6 of a second slower per lap. The hard's 1.1 seconds slower per lap. In this 36 lap race, the hards will do 34 of those laps. So lap 1 safety cars, we may see drivers dipping onto those hards to go to the end of the race. The mediums will do 26. The softs can reach about 14 laps, so it is within the realm of possibility to see that soft medium one-stop strategy, although it does take quite a bit of stretching of the tire life. The Drivers' Championship, Dr. Zato's taking home the top spot in this one. Coral coming home second, having to miss the last couple of races, turned in a tremendous season. Lord Volk in third, Stark and Milo, the 2 Mercedes pairing, rounding out the top 5. But as we jump in, there is already action as Cruzo has picked up a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Lord Volk off the track there. So, in Division 2 fashion, we are already up to a stellar start. We will grab Elliott, who is typically the first around the track, usually getting the first lap times in and setting off. There's a lot of cloud in the sky at the moment, and as we all know, Brazil is famous for some of its wet weather situations. Drivers pretty much all out on the track at the moment, so there may be an inkling of some rain at the tail end of this qualifying session that could interrupt some of the running, but we will just have to wait and see. As much as it could go from cloudy to rainy, it could go from cloudy to sunny, as we saw in the PlayStation race, where it started a bit overcast and a bit intimidating, but managed to get the job done, bring up the lap timer data. Of course, Elliott going to set the provisional first lap here, though it appears that Ruprath in 4th has gone provisionally a little bit faster in Sector 1, and well, it looks like Elliott's actually going to get a little bit of a slipstream off the Alpha Tauri ahead as he's gearing up to start his flying lap. Flashy is out of the session. He's crashed in the first sector, and Archduke Oregano picking up a 5-place grid penalty. So penalties abounding in this one. Elliott first to the top of the timing sheets. Ruprath not able to find time in that middle sector. So we will grab Milo, who is coming through next. Let's see what kind of lap time he has. But 2 drivers now carrying 5-place grid penalties. Milo goes on to a 109.7. Dog is retired in the pit lane, it would seem. So nothing going on yet. But yes, already shambles. And just to think, as you may have noticed, we are lacking my my usual companion in the virtual commentary box, Zord having a bit under the weather of a day, and then his voice is a little bit shot, but Stark going provisionally pole, so I'll be rocking alone, but the shambles still ride with him, so thank you, as he surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, pretty much right as he subscribed, and I need to move some stuff around. Right as he's hit the subscription, as Dr. Zatos goes to the top of the timesheet, there's more shambles involved. So, yeah, voice like a Ferrari power unit. I've heard it. It sounds like a blend between yourself and Dan Gilligan, but I don't think in either of the good ways is the way I'd put it. It's a little bit of a rough one. Ruprath has had a disconnection. So, it looks like we may have some little bit of a troubles to work through. Let's see, Clone Richie is going for the double push, has improved on this lap, is going to be finishing up, running out of battery as he crosses the line, but it will go to a 109.230. So, a couple drivers already out of this session. There's still 13 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. Let's see if we can find somebody on a flying lap. Pathman is into the pit lane already, so no improvements going to be had from them there. And Lord Volk going to gear up and start the flying lap. Space Ghost, if you're watching and around, can you jump into the Div 2 chat and see what's going on? Things seem fine on this end. I don't think there's a particular reason why the red flag's being asked other than the retirement. Penashiro is going to finish up his flying lap. We'll stay with the action. Goes provisionally P4. So a good lap from Penashiro. Lord Volk will jump back on board with and see how he is working through the middle sector. So manages to get a decent second sector time in. He's about 2/10 off of Dr. Zados' provisional pole. And Lord Volk is going to go up provisional P6, so a solid lap there. Archduke Oregano has invalidated his lap, so we will find Elliot, who is just about winding up a lap. We'll get rocking and rolling. So Elliot spinning up to try and improve up to the front row of the grid. We're just about coming towards the halfway point of this qualifying session. Looks to be a solid first sector for Elliot, and now the uncharacteristically long middle sector that it just goes forever and ever and ever. And normally most tracks are a fairly even split between the three sectors. Here it is a much longer. The second sector is just about as long as the first and third sector by time combined because it's so slow and twisting. He needs to find just over just about a tenth of a second, and he's found 2.5. So at the moment, Elliot is on for provisional pole pace here in PC Division 2. It looks like Milo is just about to finish up a lap just up the road of him. We'll keep an eye on the timing tower as Milo goes provisional pole to 108.2, but Elliot quickly snatches that away and goes to the 108.1. So we are starting to nip down towards the 107s. There is going to be a little bit of track evolution at the end. A little bit wide is Clone Richie, and is not going to have any improvement that time by. Blackbird looks to be next through the timing splits, and no, he's bailed out of that lap. No improvements to be found for him. Cruzo coming across, not a representative lap time. We'll go with Bananarama, who is on a decent lap, it looks like. Not quite, so no improvements to be found there either. Ali, I think, has invalidated their lap. Yes, so they are out of this session. Ruprath catching up behind, or not out of the session, but out of the lap. And then Ruprath on the out lap, so it looks like he's got a Mercedes behind the other Alpine of Elliot, who is on the in lap. Milo should be on an in lap. Stark on the out lap, I think. Got just about everybody that's on a flyer. We'll jump to Bananarama, who has invalidated. So had improved through the first sector, but another invalidation, and that is going to be the end of it. So we'll grab Stark, who is winding up for a flying lap, and who was showing out. And yeah, there does seem to be a bit of a bug with the timing tower that will turn off the outlap indicator a little bit too soon. We'll ride on board with the Mercedes driver. And was that a spot? It may have just been from the camera switching, but it looked like something had hit the screen. A little droplet of water. It is still very cloudy and very dark at this stage, but he's not improved through the first sector. He is still within bounds, 0.03 of a second. Needs to find about 0.2, just above 0.2 to go provisional pole at this stage. I think Gully went for a double push lap. He should be finishing up rather shortly here, so we may hop a little hop ahead, as it looks like Gully and Ruprath running very close. I think Ruprath is actually going to get quite a bit of a slipstream off of the Alpine. A little far back, but Gali going to cross the line, goes 108.413 up into provisional P5. Ruprath goes provisional pole in this one, has improved by a good chunk of a margin. The first driver into the 107s, a 107.7. Stark now needs to find a little bit more time. I don't know if he had it in the middle sector. Is going to cross, go to 108.4, so no improvement for Stark in that one. Lord Volk crossing the line, just starting a flying lap there. So that is the Alpha Tauri. I can totally say words today. Alpha Tauri starting a flying lap. Is Pathaman on a lap? No, Pathaman is into the pit lane. Looks like Blackbird in 9th is going to cross to start a flying lap himself. And we are just under the halfway point of this qualifying session now. 7 minutes left to go. And around goes Blackbird at the start of that lap. So no improvements are going to be found for Blackbird there. Gali is on his in lap. We will stay with Elliott, who now needs to find a good 0.4 of a second in order to put himself back onto provisional pole. The track will start to evolve at the end, so long as the weather holds out. So starting up the flying lap is Elliott here. We'll go down into turn 1. That rear wing slamming closed, trying to find the best line through the Senna S's. Carry that momentum, hug the inside, use all that downforce and grip you've got, carry the momentum. And it looks like he's going to get maybe a little bit of a toe off of the Aston Martin ahead. He's found just about 1/10 of a second in the first sector. Needs to find another 0.3 more in the middle. Now, he's going to be up in the dirty air. I think this Aston Martin's going to need to hop out of the way, and does so quite quickly and takes to the runoff. And, well, Elliott got about the maximum slipstream he could out of that Alfa Romeo ahead, so that should help them out. Now just needs a clean middle sector as they work at the wheel, trying to find the braking zones. Tricky little hairpins here, getting the throttle down now through this long sweeping left-hander down the hill. Tricky to keep the back end in check, and he's lost a little bit of time through the middle sector, so no improvements for the Alpine driver this time through, who says that the Alpine is worth half a second compared to driving any other car. But hugging the inside, he should find some improvements. Goes into the 107s, a 107.9, but not quite enough to take that provisional pole away. Lord Volk, I think, is next on lap. Nope, he's on an in lap. Blackbird, I believe, is on an in lap as well. Cruzo is on a flying lap. Has found 0.2 of a second in the first sector already, and now looks to try and improve. Brazil is one of the tracks where it is short enough for drivers to get 4 runs in with fresh tires and swapping them out every time. However, that does put you at risk of you having no fresh soft tires in the race. You all have only scrubbed sets. He's found another 10th in the middle sector, and now here comes the long blast. There's basically just the one left-hander for a braking zone, Jun Sao, in the final sector. Otherwise, it's just a couple of left-handed kinks, and opening up that rear wing, crossing the line, goes a 108.6, so does indeed find himself in decent spots. Zados down a little bit on his previous best this time through. Elliott has lost a little bit of time, so he will dive in. We'll jump back to Dr. Zados, who is just about a 0.5 off of his previous best lap. So he's got to find some time. Needs to find about a 0.5 second in order to get towards the provisional pole, as Ruprath really put in quite the margin this time. And around goes Zados, and that is that downhill slope. It is very tricky to get the car rotated through and steady, but it looks like right now just about everybody's in the pits. Gali on an outlap, Cruzo on an inlap. Zados, I would expect, is going to be pitting off of this one. Just enough time for him to get in, make a tire change, and go for one more flying lap. So we will stay with Gali, actually, who's going to be essentially the first driver to set a flying lap to finish out this qualifying session. And now the track is fully evolved in, rubbered in, and ready to rock and roll. So we will see if any of those times come tumbling down. Ruprath, next out on the outlap, is going to have what appears to be some decently clean air ahead of him. And we will stay with the Alpine of Gali, who is trying to work their way a little bit further up the championship order at the end here. So taking that short line to the inside, rear wing is open, picking up speed down into turn 1. Slams shut avoids touching the grass on the inside, doesn't go all the way to that runoff area that you normally see some drivers trying to open up the entry to turn 1 with. Rear wing flipping open, and let's see, he needs to find about 0.8 of a second to pole position. He's found just about a half a tenth on this first sector. We'll see if he continues to work through. I believe that is Elliott actually just out ahead of Gali. Maybe if Elliott does a kind of a push middle sector, he can essentially tow Gali down the main pit straight to finish it. But no, he's going to move out of the way. So no team play on order there, and I think he's going to actually try and now stay very close to the back of Gali and get that slipstream for themselves. We'll see how Gali is doing at the middle sector split. And it is 0.2 of a second, so has found a fair chunk of time, is going to be enough to move them up towards P3, roughly, if they can finish off the lap with a similar gain. Maybe even get down to the 107s, local yellows getting out of the way, and cross the line, Gali 108.1, so provisionally P3 goes Gali. And now we will keep an eye out for who is next on the lap. I believe Ruprath is actually on a flying lap. Has not found any time in the first sector this time by. Needs a strong middle sector in order to extend his pole position advantage. Does have a strong middle sector. Finds about a 10th in that sector alone. Then out of Junsao and down the pit straight to try and extend that provisional pole position gap. Local yellows, looks like one of the McLarens and Mercedes are going a little bit slow. Ruprath does improve by a 10th, so extends the provisional pole gap. Now we're 107.6. Elliott is going to be probably the first to be able to attack it and attempt to take over it. Hasn't quite found the speed he needs in the first sector. Can he find it in the second sector now? Sweeping down the hill across the sector split, and no, has lost time. So that will be just about the end of this qualifying session for Elliott. I can totally think of words. So Stark is first of the Mercedes around the circuit. We will keep an eye on the timing tower in case there are any changes. Elliott stayed out to finish their lap. It looks like the two Alfa Romeos are just about to start flying laps of their own, as are the two Red Bulls. Actually, Blackbird improves to a P8 on a 108.3. Stark had only found about had lost about half a tenth off their previous in the first sector. So needs to improve in this middle sector to have any chance. It looks like getting about as much as they can. Across the line comes the two Aston Martins. And Archduke Oregano does move up to P12. Local yellows, as it looks like Milo has had to back out of his lap, is off the track. Ruprath retiring in the pit lane as he's done. Stark does find some time in the middle sector, but is it going to be enough to even move up one spot to Lord Volk? Needs about a 10th to get there. Can he get the drive out of Junsao? Rear wing flips open for the DRS, hugging the inside line, taking the checkered flag. Stark does improve up to third, so a good run from Stark there. Pathaman is on their way into the pit lane. I believe next across the line will be Clone Richie. The two Alfa Romeos running line astern here, so it should be relatively quick between the two of them. Clone Richie goes a 108.6. And Bananarama does improve, but not in any positional capacity. I believe Gali has invalidated their final run. Lord Volk next across, taking a little bit of slipstream off the Mercedes ahead, hugging the inside line. Goes a 108.1, improves a little bit on time, but not in any positions. Penashiro across the line goes up to P8. Archduke Oregano, I think, is going to be one of the last ones to finish lap. No, he's well down on his previous best and will just finish off and take the checkered flag. But Ruprath takes pole position for the final race of the season in Division 2. Elliott in second, Stark in third, Gali in fourth, Lord Volk fifth, Milo sixth, champion Dr. Zados down in seventh in the mid-pack, Penashiro eighth, Blackbird ninth, Clone Richie in 10th. Now there were a couple of 5-place grid penalties. I believe Cruzo had one, as did one other driver that I am drawing a blank on and don't recall at the moment, but we will see in the end results screen once it settles its way in who has those 5-place grid penalties. Now I believe, if I'm not mistaken, formation lap should, I think, still be on. I think it was only in the test lobby for Div R that it was off. So Cruzo and Archduke Oregano, the two with the 5-place grid penalties. But there is Ruprath on the top step, or top spot, rather. He's not on a podium just yet. Elliott in second, Stark, Gali, Lord Volk, Milo, Dr. Zados, Pinashiro, Blackbird, and Clone Richie rounds out the top 10 within a second. Cruzo, Pathaman, Archduke Oregano, Bananarama, Dog, and Flashy, though Cruzo and Archduke will start from the back of the grid, it would appear. So we will see what kind of tire strategy drivers are going to opt for. We're going to stay with the loading screen here instead of the normal like hold screen, just in case there is any issues with formation lap being started immediately. So drivers will have a bit of a moment to set their strategies. Get everything all dialed up as needs to be, fuel levels as well, as the game likes to overfuel you here at Brazil by like 3.5 laps. It's kind of impressive, actually. But it does appear that the sun is out on the circuit, and we may be ready for a non-rainy race. But the countdown timer has started. Somebody has readied up, and I'm sure there's a lot of people going, oh, come on, guys. But last race of the season, and I feel like some people are just ready to get it underway, get it rocking and rolling for this. The final laps of FRS Season 6. A lot of great championship battles. We had 2 4-way championship battles in the league in the final race. Xbox and PC4 technically had 4 drivers each involved. But it does appear that we will get a cozy formation lap, which means I need to silence this man, David Croft. So strategically, mediums on just about everybody except for Elliott, Dog, Cruzo, and Archduke Oregano. So nobody opting for the soft compound to start this race. As we do expect the pit window for the medium tire runners to open up between lap 14 and lap 18, ideally, if they're going medium on to hard, and those that are starting on the hard compound will go to about lap 22, is about the split you would expect. And there we go. Audio back up as the drivers form up on the grid, and we get ready for the final, hopefully, final lights out of the season. Here we have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights are up, and it's a decently short hold. Elliott looks to have gotten off the line quite well. Ruprath a little bit bogged down, and Elliott on the inside is going to have a chance to attack into turn 1. A little bit of contact towards the back. It looks like there was a moment between Elliott and Ruprath. Stark had to check out, but we've got now Stark on the back of Elliott and Milo on the back of Gali. So we've got Alpine 2, 4, and Mercedes in 3-0. But around is Blackbird, and off the track is Elliott. It looks like there may have been contact potentially between the front 2 runners, although shuffled straight to the back is Elliott. And the Constructors' Championship battle at the moment, Stark and Milo in Mercedes need to find 20 points to take over the McLaren duo of Cruzo and Pathaman, and of course Coral scoring lots of points for McLaren as well. But so Stark and Elliott contact on lap 1, it looked like. Was trying to see as there was some potential overtaking opportunities a little further down the field going on as it is all kicking off. It looks like Dog is off the circuit as well, and that is going to promote the McLaren one step closer to the points paying position. Milo looks like he's got a decent run on Gali ahead. Gali is still in the slipstream of Stark, but Ruprath leads this race after lap 1. And it looks like Dog has had another spin down out of Junsao. So needs a bit of a safety car help to close back up to the pack. Zados and Archduke Oregano duking it out down towards the bottom. Not where the champion, I'm sure, would expect to have been in this one. Flashy looks to be sizing up a move on the Aston Martin of Pinashiro, though Lord Volk getting involved, having a little look to the inside, but ducking back into the slipstream line. Wide is Pinashiro. That's going to be a chance for Flashy to slot through. Is Lord Volk going to get alongside? It looks like, yes, both have gotten through as Pinashiro went wide through turn 4. Now Elliott working his way back up through the field after that lap 1 incident. Now has a look at Archduke Oregano, and it is starting to, I won't say space out because there's only a couple of slots in the entire order that are spaced out by more than a second, but Ruprath having a tremendous drive to start this one. Gali losing ground to Stark. DRS will be enabled this next lap by. We will check in with the battle between Gali and Milo. A double podium for Mercedes would be massive and would certainly clinch them the Constructors' Championship, barring any kind of massive improvements from the McLaren drivers. But we're only 3 laps into this 36-lap race, and there is plenty going on. Dr. Zados breezes by the McLaren of Cruzo and takes up P11. And now we will check in with the first dose of DRS. Milo, the first driver to have it in this race. Closing up to the back of Gali, not a chance to make any kind of move just yet. Flashy having to duck into the line as well. It looks a little wide from Lord Volk in the background. It looks like now Cruzo is trying to retake that position off of Dr. Zados. But Milo really getting up the gearbox of Gali, putting some pressure on the Alpine driver. And this is the final race of the season. If he can stay right where he's at, should be a very good overtaking opportunity down into turn 1, depending on what kind of setups they're running. We've seen quite a variety of setups across the divisions in this race, as there's the local yellows, and it looks like that is Dr. Zados around. So maybe some incident and contact racing with Cruzo. We do know Cruzo is a no quarters given and none taken kind of driver, but could have also been a solo spin. It is in a spot where spins do happen. But Milo has the DRS, has a run going to the outside of Gali into turn 1. He's going to sweep wide around. He's going to tuck back in, and I think that may give him an opportunity to make a run as Bananarama and Archduke Oregano both move up respective positions, and Milo has quite a run on Gali. He's going to go to the inside. Gali not quick enough to get to the defensive line, and Milo clears him before the braking zone, so a smooth move from the Mercedes driver that time by. We will, if I can grab the right drivers, as it looks like trying to see that battle. Elliott and Cruzo side by side, both on the hard tire. Little wiggle contact, Argy Bargy, as they head up the hill, and is going to be very close. Oh, a little bit of a touch from Elliott into Cruzo there again, and Cruzo has run just a tiny bit wide. So out at the front, looks like Milo starting to stretch their legs away from Gali as this other Alpine battle continues. The closest fight on track in this one, but away they go, and it looks like Cruzo is finally slotted ahead. However, it looks like Elliott has gotten pretty good drive off of that final corner, and away they go. Up at the front, it looks like Blackbird not quite close enough to have a move set up, and there's basically bump drafting going on between Cruzo and Elliott. To the inside goes the Alpine, and down the Senna S's they go, and it looks like Elliott's just about got that job done. However, it looks like Cruzo has a decent run through turn 3. Can he get the switchback? DRS is open on the McLaren, and it doesn't look like it's quite got the legs. Elliott pulling the DRS off the cars ahead. The 2 Aston Martins just ahead of them, swapping positions as Archduke Oregano moves past Penashiro and up into the points paying positions. Stark 2 seconds gap to Ruprath and 2 seconds to his teammate Milo. Gali still hanging on to that DRS from the Mercedes just ahead. Archduke now trying to find a little bit of legs and some space, but a little further up this tight battle here. Essentially DRS train, Gali, Blackbird, Clone Richie, Flashy, Lord Volk all in there. Elliott has snuck by, and a little bit of contact between Penashiro and Cruzo as they come down the hill, and around goes Pathaman. The back end steps out. It looks like he's avoided any kind of contact from anyone as Cruzo gets the job done on Penashiro, but around goes the McLaren that time through, and that is the end of that one. Blackbird now having a look to the inside of Gali. No, he's backed out of it, slotted back in as Gali still maintaining that 1 second margin to Milo, so he's got a little bit of help of DRS there, but Blackbird has a decent run. He's going to switch to the inside and go into Descida del Lago. No, he's held off. Cruzo picking up the first 3 second time penalty of the session. Penashiro onto the soft compound tires, likely had some damage in the RG-Bargy position swaps where he went from 10th down all the way to about 13th. And contact as Blackbird runs into the back of Gali. Contact as Clone Richie hits Gali, and Gali once again, bad luck, just spun around by the car behind him, and surely that would be something that would be penalized. But I think Clone Richie now carrying damage. Flashy maybe have some damage as well. Gali, I think, got hit on the side of the car, so I think he maybe have avoided some damage. Now having a look at the inside of Pathaman, trying to get back past the McLaren driver. But once again, just bad luck for the Alpine team. They've had it almost all season. It's like there's, waving red in front of a Red Bull. And there just seems to always be something that impedes an Alpine's ability to just drive a clean race. And they've got some serious work to do. Lord Volk now catching up to the back. Lord Volk appears to not have a front wing. He seems to be getting down into the corners okay. But he was part of that group. And, I think there may be just a graphical glitch there because, well, it seems okay. He's hanging with this group. But, of course, I think we know Clone Richie is probably damaged. Flashy's probably damaged. I think that basically this entire group might be damaged. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, that is interesting. Yeah. Lord Volk has just gone pure ultra low downforce. Who needs a front wing anyway? Flashy losing touch at the moment to Blackbird ahead. And has just about lost that. Now, interestingly enough, we have Archduke Oregano and Elliott just hanging on to this group as well. And yeah, Lord Volk falling out of that 1 second margin. And we'll see if he dips in. It looks like Flashy is into the pit lane, as is Lord Volk. So I know that early in the game's history that missing front wing was barely a hindrance at all. I know they did some patches, but it still doesn't seem to be quite the death sentence of wing damage that you would expect. Now, granted, I had lime green wing damage on my front wing in Australia, and it was costing me a couple of tenths a lap for sure. But this battle is Elliott now continuing to climb back through the field up into 8th. Penashiro on those soft tires sets the fastest lap as Ruprath in the lead of this race. Stark trying to close the gap a little bit, but now a comfortable 2-3 for the Mercedes duo as the battle in this train, Clone Richie, Bananarama, Archduke Oregano, Elliott all kind of hotting up here. And we may see some maneuvers, I believe. With Clone Richie staying out, he may just have some very minor wing damage, maybe not significant. It does appear that a front wing end plate is missing off of the lead of the two Alfa Romeos. But pace seems to be okay. He has fallen considerably off the back of the Red Bull of Blackbird, and they do indeed stay out. So Elliott now closing up on the back of Archduke Oregano, nearly going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Elliott late on the brakes. It looks like he's got that slotted in. Archduke Oregano looked like he may have had a run on Bananarama, just has to slot in, and Elliott up another position into 7th, that rear wing flipping open. I think there's an orchestrated switch going on at Alfa Romeo as Bananarama goes by Clone Richie, and Clone Richie dives right back into the train and manages to defend ahead of Elliott. So very close are these 3-4 drivers, and this is where it gets a little bit dicey. The braking zones are a little bit. Elliott diving up the inside, looking for that open door, sees it, and goes for the move. It is going to switch to the inside for Clone Richie, who is struggling to defend now with that broken wing. Surely it's costing him enough time that he's got to come in and make a change, even if it is going to compromise the rest of the race strategy. He's losing just too much time. And Elliott now up into 6th in the DRS, most importantly, of Bananarama, although it looks like he's fallen just out of it. So Elliott going to have to do some defending now from the cars behind. Is Clone Richie going to stay out? It looks like Clone Richie does indeed stay out with that damaged front wing. Straight line speed seems to be pretty good on the Alfa Romeo. A little look to the inside, but no move on that time by. Archduke Oregano stays up in the train. Gali now catching up to Cruzo to try and work his way back through the field. I think luckily for Gali, even though he got spun around and hit and fell to the back of the field, it was contact onto his side pod, so it wasn't any front wing damage where he's got to make a pit stop to change it. Now up the inside of the McLaren goes the Alpine, and that should be just about job done for that driver. Archduke Oregano, Clone Richie in the middle sector here now making some maneuvers side by side. Elliott getting much closer to Bananarama now, so we should see Elliott trying to make a move out of down the pit straight out of Junsao. But up at the front, 3 seconds the gap from Ruprath to Stark. Milo 5 seconds further back and has 2.3 seconds to Blackbird, who is gradually reeling in the Mercedes. But we will stay as around goes Archduke Oregano. So a mistake out of that high-speed right-hander. And now Elliott going to try and make a move on another Alfa Romeo. DRS is open. He's got the slipstream, not using overtake, and down into turn 1 to start the Senna S's he goes. So it looks like he's just about got that job finished. Does Bananarama have what he needs to re-attack down into turn 4? Looks like Dr. Zados had a little bit of a look on Clone Richie, but is not able to get the job quite done yet. We will see in the background, as it looks like Elliott has held, as has Blackbird's had a spin. Blackbird's gone wide through turn 4 and is off the track and is now just having to wait, as that is promoted now both the McLarens up into the points. So P9, P10, McLaren scooping up now 3 points to Mercedes's, what is that, 32? No, 30, it would be an odd number, 31, 18 and 15. 33. I don't know, I can't count. Something. It's 20 points the gap. That's what they need. I'm totally on top of it for the constructors. But Dr. Zados now is back to the lead Red Bull position. And Gali is trying to catch up to this pack. Elliott now into 4th, 5.7 seconds off of the 2 Mercedes drivers now, and has some work to do. Dr. Zados is gearing up to try and close the gap. Not in position to make a move on Clone Richie. Clone Richie, though, very deep in turn 1. And that should give Dr. Zados a very good opportunity. DRS opening now at this line. Overtake deploying, but they're both low on battery. You can see the bar on Zados' steering wheel is quite low, and the flashing rear light on the Alfa Romeo, meaning that there is some time to be gained. Pathaman is starting to close back up to Gali, as the pace falling off for the Alpine driver this time by. The medium tire runners still all out, as are all the hard tires. Flashy, Penashiro, Lord Volk, the only ones to pit already. And that was for early damage. So soft tires on Flashy and Penashiro. They're going to have to make another stop. Lord Volk can go to the end of the race on those hard compound tires. They will do just about the entire race distance. But we are catching back up with this battle. Dr. Zados and Clone Richie much closer this time down the front straight. And I think once that DRS flips open, should be a very good opportunity to make the move. Although they're both very low on that overtake button. And it looks like to the outside goes Zados. He's got a tire on the grass. That's going to compromise his braking ability. He's gone very deep, but he's managed to hold it. I think he just about had enough space, went to the outside rather late, and Clone Richie had to kind of react. Dr. Zados, I don't think, going to get this job done this time. Pathaman, though, on the outside of Gali into turn 4. Gali's going to hold the inside, and I think just about keep the McLaren at bay. It is a good run up the hill for McLaren. Can he hold around the outside? A little bit of contact, and that's going to spin them both out. No, Gali sideways. Pathaman just goes wide, and Gali, once again, just has no luck. No luck at all. And I think Pathaman is he waiting for Gali maybe? He's slowed up quite a lot, but it's not going to help Gali out all that much, as he's now 5 seconds off the back. I don't think Gali picked up any damage from that, but once again, through no fault of his own, run into the back of and spun around. So Alpine apparently, once again, just getting punted. We'll jump back up to this battle between Dr. Zados and Clone Richie, which it continues, and it looks like the Alfa Romeos have just about enough straight line speed to hold off the Red Bull at the moment, although Dr. Zados in about the closest position he has been to the Alfa Romeo ahead. They both have that rear light flashing. Early defensive goes Clone Richie, holding the inside. To the outside is going to be Dr. Zados. It looks like a little touch on the grass of the outside wheels, and around the outside goes the Red Bull, and I think he's just about got that job done. Pathaman has ceded the position back to Gali, but it has been a significant time loss, and I think Zados now has got the job done and has to go to work trying to close down on Bananarama up ahead. Elliott has closed up 3 seconds to Milo now, so they are starting to get closer into striking distance. The pit window is now open for those medium tire runners, so we'll see if any of them duck into the pit lane. Of course, Elliott on those hard compounds is able to go a little bit longer, a little bit further down the field. It looks like Blackbird is now catching up to Cruzo. And it looks like Cruzo's had a bit of a shaky exit out of Junsao. That is a good release off the corner for the Red Bull. And what kind of defensive line will the McLaren take? The rear wing is open, DRS enabled. Cruzo holding the front line, Clone Richie into the pit lane, and it doesn't look like the Red Bull is quite close enough to attack that time. But little wiggle of oversteer from Cruzo, though, as they come through the Senna S's. Is it close enough for Blackbird to get the run? Slipstream, DRS open down into Desida del Lago. Can he find the way to the inside? No, he's just got to tuck in and holds position, and it stays as it is. It looks like that Red Bull's got some pace. And now the fight has resumed between Gali and Pathaman after Pathaman has given that place back, looking to get that spot back once again, this time more cleanly. It looks like Pinashiro has had a spin on his way through the pit lane. Or no, that is not Pinashiro, that is Archduke Oregano, who has had the Aston Martin with the yellow flags. But Ruprath is into the pit lane, so he is the first driver to blink and get off of those medium compound tires. Should be an easy choice to go onto the hards to go to the end of the race, and he indeed does go on to those hard compound tires. So as we start lap 16, Ruprath, the first of the leaders to dive into the pit lane. Milo, Elliott, Stark staying out. It looks like Bananarama may have an opportunity to come through, though Ruprath is going to slot in just ahead. However, those hard tires are a little bit sketchy. Pathaman and Gali down into turn 1. As this battle continues between the two, and it looks like Pathaman has gotten ahead, although I think he was ahead at the detection point. So Gali will get the chance to re-attack with the DRS. Into the slipstream goes the Alpine with that quick speed, that DRS. Can he get ahead as they turn into turn 4? Side by side they go. Gali's got the outside. The inside line goes to the McLaren. It's going to switch to the inside for Gali, who has now managed to take that position back off of the McLaren, and the battle will continue between the two. So Cruzo has managed to work his way up to 7th place in this one. Archduke is out. He's retired in the pit lane, so he has retired. However, there is the issue of just at this circuit, the closest kind of stopping point for cars that retire themselves, because the AI loves to drive itself out of the pit lane, is down at turn 4. So there's going to be a slow Aston Martin that essentially drives all the way down the second DRS straight. I think it's just about going to find some safe location, as Bananarama is into the pit lane, as is Blackbird. So a couple more drivers coming into the pits, and I think Cruzo is going to arrive on this slow moving Aston Martin. Hopefully he can get through the corner of turn 4, and it looks like it has pulled off. There it goes, and it is sketchy. So that's definitely cost a bit of a hesitation from Cruzo. And once again, Gali and Pathaman swapping positions going through, and now Dog starting to get involved with this battle. So I'd love to see it if retiring in the pit lane actually parked the car up in the pit lane. Luckily, it looks like only a small hesitation of time cost from Cruzo. It managed to stay out of the way of everything else. We did have a situation in another race where that retiring car got hit by a car that was still racing, and it looks like Elliott has made their way past Milo. I didn't even see that materializing. I wonder if Milo has had a bit of a mistake. He's lost a lot of time to Stark in this last lap, but Milo dropping behind and now is going to have to try and re-attack the Alpine of Elliott and try and play a little bit of a rear gunner for his teammate. Dog has made his way as Pathaman, it looks like, is into the pit lane. Yes, Pathaman into the pit lane. So now Dog is free to race with Gali. Lap 18. I wouldn't expect too many of the medium tire runners to stay out for too much longer in this one, as Flashy is making good use of the soft tires that he has enabled. And but he is going to have to make another pit stop. They're 10 laps old, those softs, so they are going to start to fall off pretty significantly. Defensive to the inside as Lord Volk looks to go around the outside. Maybe a wheel touching the grass. And now it looks like Lord Volk is going to try and re-attack up the hill. He's got the outside line. Side by side they go. And it looks like, a little bit of contact between the two. That gets Flashy all out of shape. I don't know that Lord Volk had much more room to give on the outside, as it's just the momentum of the outside car to kind of trace its way up to the racing line. But now Lord Volk, Flashy, Bananarama still all battling it out. Milo still in the DRS range of Elliott ahead, has not fallen out of it. And this is a lovely camera angle that shows us absolutely nothing of the potential attacks. Now we'll grab, sorry, wrong button. Dog, the number 8, not number 7. Oh, big snap of oversteer from Dog right as we switch to him. So a near mistake costing the Haas driver. Manages to gather it up, but that has cost them quite a bit of time. They were still in touching distance at the detection point, but it does mean that they do have to make up that time once again. Flashy still putting the pressure on Lord Volk, but I think that the tires are just about out of it. And there's the yellow flags. Pathaman is around in turn 1. He's just about getting the car going once again, gradually accelerating up to speed. So he had already done 1 lap on those hards. So they should have been just about up to temperature, but it is a tricky one, of course. Milo still holding on to that DRS of Elliott. Elliott is gradually kind of dragging Milo along towards his teammate Stark. So that gap is closing up towards Stark in the lead of this race. Of course, Ruprath still driving a solid race as Lord Volk picks up another 3-second time penalty. So Cruzo and Lord Volk 6 seconds, and Blackbird 3 seconds in this one. Zados into the pit lane, making his tire change now, as I think at this point Stark is probably going long and going to try and go for the medium to soft strategy. It is losing some time to Elliott behind. Elliott is essentially in the pit window to come in and get those medium tires on and essentially have an even tire advantage to the rest of the field for the rest of the way. But Stark, Elliott, Milo, Cruzo, Gali, and Dog all yet to make their required pit stop in this one. As it looks like Flashy now into the pit lane. Blackbird closing up to the back of Clone Richie as that battle is starting to get a bit closer. And Gali sneaking right around the 1 second margin to Cruzo. Dog's slowly clawing back the time lost from that mistake in turn 2. But it looks like Dog may be just outside of DRS this time through as they come through the detection point. It's close. He may have just about got it. We will see as they cross line if that time comes way down. But it does seem to be about even Stevens between the Alpine and the Haas out in 6th and 7th. But the closest battle on track is here. Blackbird and Clone Richie, Red Bull versus Alfa Romeo. DRS is open on the Red Bull. That Alfa Romeo seems to be very quick in a straight line, though. Very little time gained by the Red Bull, even with having that DRS open. So, seems like the Alfa Romeo has the ability to defend in a straight line quite nicely. And around and a little bit of contact. Clone Richie spun out of turn 3 and just nearly avoiding it was Blackbird. A little bit of a kiss on the tire has spun Blackbird around. He's gotten going once again. But there's going to be some very hot rear tires for both of them, so keep an eye in case there may be another little mistake. Gali has closed up to the DRS range of Cruzo ahead, as has Dog into Gali's DRS, so we are seeing a little bit of a train forming between this group as it is the top 3 or 4 drivers, as Ruprath is already catching up to the back of Milo, who has fallen out of that DRS range of Elliott now. So Milo will start to fall back in this one, and is Ruprath really showing the pace that he has. Gali not quite close enough to make a move on Cruzo this time through. And down into turn 3 they go. Has fallen just out of the DRS range. It looks like a little bit of a slow run through turn 1. He's got the DRS down this straight, but Dog has made up quite a bit of ground. We will jump ahead as on the fresh, hard tires, Ruprath is really closing up onto the back of Milo, and now Milo needs to be a defender supreme in a straight line to try and hold off the hard-charging Haas, although it seems that the release off of Jun Sao is just so much better for the Haas driver in this one. So I expect it will be a difficult defense as Elliott is now into the pit lane. So Stark actually took the hard tires the medium tires longer than Elliott took the hards. A squeeze put on by Milo to try and defend that position. Ruprath commits to the inside line as Milo just about left a car's width for him to go through. Now Milo going to attempt the re-attack down into turn 4, but I think Ruprath just about has it covered off and that will be it. So Elliott onto the medium tires, as you would expect, to go to the end of this race. Clone Richie with a 3-second time penalty. And now we'll check in with the battle between Dog and Gali. It looks like Dog has the release he needs off of turn 3 this time. Gali does still have a little bit of DRS from Cruzo ahead and manages to defend that position just about. Elliott came out about 4 seconds ahead of Cruzo. Still needs to get those tires warmed up, but out of the danger zone. So Cruzo running 5th at the moment, collecting 10 points for McLaren. Stark in P1 would collect 25, although he still has to make a pit stop, as does Milo. I believe that Elliott may be in a position to, if he puts in a couple more quick laps, undercut Stark, who is now into the pit lane. Stark, though, should be going on to the soft compound tires with just 12 laps left to go in this one, and he is indeed onto the softs. And should have some good pace, as looks like Elliott coming down the pit straight. We'll grab this pair. Elliott around the outside, and he has managed to undercut Stark this time through. And Cruzo at this point just kind of holding out. It looks like Dog has had a mistake. No, Dog into the pit lane. No mistake from Dog. Into the pit lane. And Stark has come out a good 3 seconds behind Elliott. So a pretty hefty time loss in the undercut and running those medium tires so much longer. And now Ruprath cycles back to the lead of this race. And I think Milo is going to be in a bit of a spot of bother. He's got to kind of come in relatively soon. Otherwise, Dr. Zados, who has already made the pit stop, may undercut him. I would expect to see Milo in on this lap, though, as it looks like Pathaman and Flashy duking it out down through turn 1. And I think Flashy's going to have a chance to re-attack into turn 4 in the slipstream. Pulls out to the inside. On the brakes into turn 4 they go. And it looks like just a little bit wide goes Pathaman onto the curbing and has to yield that position as Flashy pulled ahead. Milo into the pit lane now, so he will make a tire swap and get ready to go to the end of this race. Stark needs to find some pace in this one. We will see where Cruzo drops to after he makes his pit stop. He's 24 seconds off the lead. It looks like he would drop right around the points paying positions, around 10th, 11th, when Cruzo does decide to come in. It was roughly a 22-second time loss here. And does Milo have the legs to stay ahead of Cruzo, who's already got the momentum? And it's going to be very close. He does stay ahead, has to get some temperature into the tires. Of course, Cruzo carrying those 6 seconds worth of time penalties. But Milo on those soft tires should be able to manage to pull out quite a gap through this middle sector where there is that tire advantage. Pathaman and Flashy still duking it out. It looks like Pathaman had a little look on Flashy, but it's not going to be quite close enough to get any kind of move done. Gali is trying to get himself into the points paying position, sitting 11th at the moment after being spun round a couple of times. Dr. Zados now closing up on to the back as Ruprath is out. Ruprath has crashed in turn 1. Ruprath is out of this session. That's a full safety car. That has thrown things completely on its head. Now Elliott has to make a stop or be on the medium tire, and I think that Elliott is going to come out just ahead of the safety car, so it will be a delta for it, but well, I didn't see that coming. Ruprath had just an absolute mile on the field. Stark has managed to get in for essentially a free stop, is onto another set of soft tires because he falls just behind his teammate Milo. Cruzo has managed to stop, and that has really helped him out. 10 laps left to go in this race, and the safety car has come out in this one. Dr. Zados into the pit lane, and we will just keep an eye on the tire situation. Elliott, the only one now at the front of the pack on the mediums. Milo had only put 1 lap into those softs. Gali onto a set of softs. Now, this comes down to which tires has everybody used in qualifying. So, it's gotten interesting here. Thank you, Zord, because that was your spirit acting upon this to trigger a final safety car. So now we're going to have essentially a 10-lap sprint. Penishiro and Pathaman still out on the tires that they have. They should have enough time to come in and make another stop. Elliott has actually gotten the gap to make a stop, I think. So I think Elliott in position now to win this race. We'll see he's just getting rolling. And is Milo going to come out ahead of Elliott? He is. So Milo into the lead of this race now on 2-lap-old soft tires, although only 1 lap at actual racing pace. Stark now is going to be sitting third, same position as he was, so he does not jump Elliott. They've both made pit stops. So now they're on similar tire ages. Penashiro and Pathaman have to come in. They have, even if they're going to drop a couple of positions, they have to come in. The hard tires will just get absolutely eaten up by the softs at the end of this race. And we will see, it looks like they've both opted to stay out on circuit. I don't know that that's a great call, but importantly, Cruzo stays 5th. Pathaman now, he's in the points, but I think he's going to fall out of it. So 10 points to Cruzo. If Milo and Stark finish, I need a calculator. Where's my phone? I need a calculator for this. Because the only thing that's essentially on for championships here is there's a 20-point gap between McLaren and Mercedes in the constructors. Cruzo is taking out 10 points of it as it is. If it finishes 1-3 for Mercedes, then it should be easy points. It would be a 30-point swing. 2-3 would make it a 30 or a 23-point swing. So Stark and Milo can't fall behind Zados, because I think if it goes 2-4, it ends up as a tie on the Constructors' Championship with the 10 points of Cruzo. Although Cruzo is carrying 6 seconds worth of time penalties, so it's interesting. So essentially, if Cruzo needs to score at least this 10 points. If he falls out of that, it's going to be very difficult to make up that gap. So yeah, 3-4 would be 27 points. He could fall to 6th, but not 7th, could Cruzo, if Elliott and Dr. Zados both get by both of the Mercedes. So lots of mental maths, but ultimately still waiting for the field to bunch up. And, well, I think Penashiro and Pathaman might be in a bit of trouble. They might be in a little bit of trouble, but Milo is going to be leading the safety car restart. It looks like Flashy and Clone Richie are going to get close to catching this pack up. We do have what appears to be Dog a lap down in the mix here, so he is right there with the leaders. He's going to have to probably jump out of the way of this group or try and unlap himself. Safety car is in this lap, so Milo slowing down to get the pack ready to restart. Flashy and Clone Richie should just about attach themselves to the back of the pack. And I think that the potential of having Dog in the mix as a car a lap down could be terrifying as well. I believe he may. I don't think he's actually ghosted, but there goes Milo. Stark has caught Elliott napping a little bit. Has to actually back out. He's gotten too good of a run. And now down into turn 1 goes Milo. A little bit further back, Stark, Elliott, Dr. Zados, all very much pressured. Contact looks like that's actually just Dog jumping out of the way. So I don't believe Dog has spun. I think he just jumped off the racing line. But now Cruzo is up into 5th and having a look up at Dr. Zados ahead. Stark needs to try and run away from the Red Bull. That's what he needs. And Cruzo is actually having a look around the outside of Dr. Zados. Oh, and Cruzo is around. The rear locks as he breaks into the corner, and straight to the back goes Cruzo. The Constructors' Championship has huge implications from that, as now Cruzo, in a position to maybe take the Constructors' Championship for McLaren, has had a mistake in a spin trying to go around the outside of Dr. Zados and is now running well outside of the points in 13th. Just when you thought it couldn't get more wild, here it goes. And at the front, you've got Elliott on the back of Milo, of course, with the safety car restart 3 laps before DRS becomes enabled. Dr. Zados also having a look at Stark, but now there's yellow flags, as I believe that is Dog off out of Jun Sao again. He looks to have maybe had some damage, doing a bit of Tokyo drifting there. But Elliott is all over the gearbox of Milo. Both Mercedes very much under pressure this time through. Although, without the DRS, it is going to be tough to make the move. And around, it looks like goes Cruzo again through turn 3. And that is going to really put the pain on the potential Constructors' Championship in the last race. A 20-point margin that Mercedes has to make up. And at this stage, they've made it. They still have to make it the remaining 7 laps of this race without any kinds of spins or issues. The soft tires do degrade relatively quickly. There will be a couple of laps worth of DRS available to these racers, though, at the end. Flashy's gotten himself back up into the points, as it looks like Dog has had another off into turn 1. But at the front of the pack, 1, 2, 3, 4 go the top 4 drivers. Milo, Elliott, Stark, and Dr. Zados, all very much within attacking position of each other. And it looks like that is Blackbird off the circuit. A blue dot there for a moment. And now DRS is enabled. Elliott closing right up to the back of Milo. And Milo is going to have his hands absolutely full trying to defend from this Alpine. It looks like a very good run off of turn 3. Milo defending to the inside into turn 4. The Red Pasta not quite making the move, and it looks like Lord Volk has snuck by Gali as well, as Gali in the Alpine goes down a spot. Milo holds the position out in P1 off of Elliott, but it is very, very touch and go between these as the next big DRS zone comes up. Nearly contact as Elliott very late on the brakes with Milo just ahead, and this group is very, very tightly packed. Milo trying to grab his first race win of the season, I believe. Stark feeling the pressure from Zados behind, but with his straight line speed and the DRS help from the car ahead, you may be able to just about hold that position. Once again, we go through the DRS zone. Can Elliott make the move on Milo? Has gotten a good run even before opening up that rear wing, but it seems to be hovering right about 0.4 of a second. Early defensive goes Milo. He's going to return to the racing line quite easily ahead of the Alpine driver, but Clone Richie and Pinachero swapping positions down the order a little bit, and one more time, Milo holds off, and he's counting down the laps. It looks like Stark has actually gotten a very good run on Elliott ahead. He's in the slipstream. Is he going to try and make a move as they all return to the racing line? Stark nearly had a chance to take that position off, as very close together, Pinachero with Clone Richie and Flashy, and those hard tires are just dying out now. There's no way that they can hold off these softs for that long. Pathaman is down into 10th. Flashy now looking to make his way past, and contact! Flashy's driven into the back of Pinachero and spun him around a little too aggressive into the corner, and I think that is going to be a hit for Pinachero. He's had a nightmare of a time, and well, out at the front, we'll jump back to this battle as Lord Volk is hanging on to this pack, but still carrying that 6 seconds worth of time penalties, and one more time, we head down into the pit straight and the DRS zone out of Junsao. Rear wing now flipping open. Elliott has a bit of a run on Milo. He's going early to the inside. Is he going to be late on the brakes and dive it up the inside? Stark defensive on Zados ahead. It looks like Milo's got to tuck in, and Stark looks to have lost that position from the Red Bull. However, Stark battling around the outside. It looks like he's got the run that he needs. They're both burning battery. Down the Red Pasta comes the two. Mercedes versus Red Bull. Mercedes holds off the Alpine ahead. Red Bull on the inside, Mercedes on the outside. And it looks like Zados has just about stayed ahead. Can Stark sweep around the outside? It's going to switch to the inside up the hill. And can he hold the spot, get it back from Dr. Zados? It looks like he's got the inside. A little bit of argy-bargy maybe between the two. I think Zados is still there, and Zados just has to slot back in. And what a battle between Stark and Zados. And it has cost those Stark the DRS to his teammate and Elliott. So it could be two Mercedes very much in trouble next time down the pit straight. So we'll jump to the lead battle. Elliott versus Milo once again. Looks to be a good exit out of Junsao for Milo. He's got about 0.4 the margin. However, Elliott burning battery and now about to get that DRS closer than he's ever been. This time to the outside, takes it early to the inside defensive goes Milo, and he's got to yield. Stark has also lost that position to Dr. Zados, although looks like now Lord Volk has shuffled past Stark in the meantime. Side by side, they will go through turn 3. Dog sets the fastest lap of the race, and Well, Stark is now very much under pressure from the cars behind. A little look to the inside from Lord Volk, but nothing doing that time. By now, Stark, though, has the upper hand. Flashy and Clone Richie side by side. Flashy around the outside. Can he get the move done on Clone Richie? He's going to the inside now. There's contact with Penashiro last time through here. Wide goes Pathaman. He's got a tire on the grass, and oh, it looks like Clone Richie has lost it. There may be some contact a little bit further back, but Clone Richie is straight to the back of the field now. Only a couple of laps left to go in this one. About 2 and change, and now Lord Volk really pressuring Stark, who is almost about to fall out of the DRS range of Dr. Zados. He's got to get a good exit out of Junsao. It looks like he's just about got it. Milo still holding right about 1 second off the back of Elliott. And it looks like he's not going to be in any kind of position to make a move. However, as driver in a position to make a move, Lord Volk switches to the inside late on the brakes into turn 1, and he's got no recourse, does Stark. Has to yield the position, and Lord Volk moves up into 4th place, though Stark just has to sit back with that provisional 6-second time penalty. Needs to stay with this group, although it looks like the podium hopes for Stark are fading out in this one. Pathaman up into 8th, collecting 4 points for McLaren rather now. And it looks like Cruzo is having a nightmare of a time, and the leaders are about to come through, and Cruzo's got to get that car off the racing line relatively quickly. Here comes the leaders. Elliott on the back of Cruzo, and has to sweep his way around. That could have gotten very hairy. Now Stark does have the DRS off of Lord Volk, but Lord Volk seems to have some very good pace in the final stages of this race, and a big spin from Cruzo right in front of this group. Nearly collected Stark in that one, so some dangerous driving from Cruzo to end it. As we get ready to start the penultimate lap of the race, Elliott leads from Milo, Dr. Zados in 3rd, Lord Volk provisionally 4th, Stark in 5th, Gali up into 6th place. Now, the gap between Lord Volk and Gali is within that 6-second margin, as I believe is Flashy. Clone Richie and Penashiro side by side as Clone Richie recovers back to the track and uses those soft tires to make the move on Penashiro. We'll jump back to the battle between Lord Volk and Stark. Just a half a second in it as Lord Volk is now starting to catch up to the back of Dr. Zados. He's got the DRS, and well, Zados is now comfortably in 3rd place. Milo is still trying to get himself back up on this final lap to catch up to Elliott for one last gasp attack. There's local yellows, and I think that's a mistake, potentially. That is Pathaman who's dropped down the order. I think there's local yellows, and is that Stark who's had is Stark run out of fuel? No, so Lord Volk, I think, Lord Volk has run out of fuel. I think Lord Volk has completely run out of fuel, but across the line comes Elliott to take the race win in the season finale in Brazil. Milo comes home 2nd. Dr. Zados in 3rd. Stark will come home 4th place. Gali making it a top 5 finish. Flashy in 6th. Bananarama in 7th. And Lord Volk trundling slowly across the line in 8th. Clone Richie in 9th. Penashiro jumps him on time penalties. Lord Volk shuffled all the way down to 10th with those time penalties. Both McLarens crash each other out across the line to finish the season. As well, that's what you would expect from McLaren in Division 2, I would expect. But with McLaren scoring no points and 2 Mercedes inside the top 5, that is the Constructors' Championship gone to Mercedes. Makes up the 20-point deficit in the final lap. And what a fitting image to end PC Division 2. What a sight. A busted up McLaren across the line. Well, that is something. Flashy takes the game's driver of the day. What a result for Elliott after that initial contact with, I believe it was Stark on lap 1. Charges his way right back through the field. And, well, a car running out of gas on the last lap was an also interesting one. I'll have to confirm with Lord Volk, but I'm pretty sure he ran out of fuel at the end. Because he just suddenly, it gives the local yellows. But, wow, what a finish. Even with that safety car, you still didn't save enough fuel. How much did you underfuel your car by? Or were you expecting typical Division 2 have like 4 safety cars? But top step of the podium again for Elliott, taking the race win in these final 2 races at both Imola and Brazil. Milo, he didn't check up on it. But an exciting end to the season. What a finish. Elliott Milo grabs a podium spot, this time through Dr. Zados, Stark, Gali, Flashy, Banana, Penishiro, Clone Richie, Lord Volk, Pathman, Blackbird, Cruzo, Dog, Rootbreath, Archduke, Oregano rounding it out. But, well, that was a sight to behold to finish, wouldn't you say? An exciting one for sure. And it got very, very interesting at the very end. I think, yeah, Elliott is definitely Div 1. But a good result. The fastest lap point was to a car who retired, so nobody scores that bonus lap. Congratulations to Dr. Zados this season for taking that PC Division 2 championship. A good drive from him. And then and to Mercedes for making up the gap and getting the constructors at the end. So shambolic across the line, as you would expect. And that will bring to a close FRS Season 6. I want to thank everybody for joining us every race weekend. It was hard and fast and really, really exciting. It was a good race overall. Good races throughout the season across all divisions. But, you know, looking forward to some off-season testing of crossplay to see if that is viable. We may have seen potentially the last runnings of Xbox, PC, and PlayStation divisions as they are. It is possible that we, if it works, still has crossplay, and that should help out as the pace differential in some of the Xbox and PlayStation divisions historically have been quite a bit wider than what we see in the closer racing of PC, and the talent pool will get interesting. So hopefully, fingers crossed that gets working to an acceptable level, and it could be a very exciting Season 7, which will come sometime just after the new year, because we'll run off-season tests and we'll get wound up. Keep an eye on the Twitch channels. I'm sure we will utilize them for some of the FRS Sim events that will be going on over the course of the season. I believe there's a Touring Car Championship that is getting geared up, ready to go as well. And special events that will go on. Stay updated here as well as news of Season 7 comes out. We'll try and keep you all posted. And then just before Season 7, as usual, we'll do Season 6 awards and team reveals once that's all dialed up. But I want to thank Herringzord for covering with me so many times this season and using his voice to shout a bunch, even though he sounded like a Ferrari engine today and was unable to join us. His spirit of shambles seems to follow him at every division that he is attached with, and so it's always created some fun battles. But a big shout out to all the champions this season across all divisions. What does that says? Frazier PC Division 1, Dr. Zados PC Division 2, Madsta winning PC Division 3, Space Ghost PC Division 4, LC Fighter, aka Barry Crave, in Xbox Division 1, and Rireen taking home the title for PlayStation Division 1. I'll have to run the math on all the other spots. Keep an eye out on the socials, because I will make those adjustments for the Teams Championship. I believe for sure, well, I won't say I believe, for sure McLaren took home the Teams Championship, which is our Global Constructors Championship. I believe Mercedes took home second. I don't know the rest of the order. It was relatively close down the rest of the field. But thank you to everybody else who broadcasted on all the other channels, of course, or rather all the other divisions on these channels: FRS Motorsports, FRS Community, AWD Turbo Guy, who covered so much of PlayStation and Xbox divisions, even when the internet was tough. I know he recorded a lot of that stuff locally and has been uploaded to the FRS YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, just search FRS and filter by channel, and you'll find it. So better quality versions are going up there as our playlists for all the divisions. Mifawak stepped in I believe 1 or 2 races for PlayStation as well. Dan Gilligan, Coral, Ivory Lightning, Space Ghost all took on broadcasting duties in PC Division 1 at various times throughout this season. Thank you so much for Coral for hosting that in the first half of the season. Ivory Lightning coming in the second half of the season when Coral was out of town. Dan Gilligan, of course, providing his voice to so many races in such a professional manner. Thank you, Herringzord, here on PC Division 2. And then in PC Division 3, Squids and Space Ghost doing a tremendous job throughout this entire season, especially in a division that went down to the wire. Was exciting, and I thank you guys so much for joining me so many times in PC Division 4 and PC Division R. It has been an exciting season, as much as my voice gets tanked every single week, being part of 3, maybe 4 broadcasts, depending on the weekend. It's been exciting. It's been so much fun, and thank you guys for tuning in and enjoying. Hopefully we can grow even more in the next season and get some even better racing going. So as a final sign off, thank you so much all. I've been Quimbulus. You all have a great night.